So the Gen port is not only a generator connection, it can be used for two different applications as well. You can first...
But if you're looking at a whole house backup configuration with, let's say, 30 kilowatt hours of storage, how does that then compare with a Tesla-based solution? So Mark, another story that's been sort of going around within the industry recently is availability. Specifically availability of the Tesla Powerwall 3. I've been hearing reports from some installers, some distributors that...
So you're going to be able to take away an automatic transfer switch, which is going to be very costly, not only to buy the product, but to install the labor involved. And then you can also take
the smarter way to go solar.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Solar Surge channel. So in today's video, we're talking about Tesla Powerwall and the all-in-one design versus the Sol-Ark system, or the modular 48-volt battery system. And this afternoon, I'm joined by Mark Cranella, Regional Sales Manager at Sol-Ark, and we're going to be really diving into this conversation, Mark, because I think this is one of the questions or one of the conversations that the industry is having right now is, should we be moving to these all-in-one proprietary platforms where you're getting all your major system components from a single manufacturer on a single app? Or do we want to go with more of an open architecture interoperable approach like what Sol-Ark offers with the 48-volt modular system? So why don't we just kind of take it from the top. Walk us through, how does a 48-volt modular system work? How is it different than an all-in-one? And then I have some specific questions for you about what advantages would an end user or a homeowner have with a modular system compared to an all-in-one?
Yeah, well, we are still partly an all-in-one system when it comes to adding in your charge controller, your MPPTs or maximum power point trackers, AC connections, and overcurrent protection. But what we decouple from our system is the battery storage. This gives you a lot more flexibility because now you have the inverter system that can provide your continuous power for the customer, and they might not need more continuous power, they might need more storage capacity. Having more storage capacity means you can have more power through the night for your loads to use continuously for different modes of operation like time of use to discharge while grid tied. And then it also gives the customer a little more flexibility for choosing the battery that they want. They get choices for battery cost, which is going to be a big portion of the system. They get choices for, I guess, the aesthetics of the battery, the functionality of the battery, the form factor. They get a lot more choice and a lot of flexibility when pairing with a Sol-Ark inverter. So now that you're decoupled from the energy storage, again, your continuous power is going to come from the inverter, but now you can get more storage at a more efficient price. So those average homes that need whole home backup, with more storage, you can put more battery storage to the inverter and get a much more cost-effective system.
Right. And I think that's probably the first big difference that a homeowner is going to notice is that if you're looking for a true whole house backup solution, and again, I'm recommending for a typical US home, whole house backup, really you're looking at 20 to 30 kilowatt hours of storage or more. And so, yes, if you're just looking at cost for a single Tesla Powerwall, for example, Tesla Powerwall versus a minimum configuration Sol-Ark system, I understand the price difference is not that great, but if you're looking at a whole house backup configuration with, let's say, 30 kilowatt hours of storage, how does that then compare with a Tesla-based solution?
So the Sol-Ark system with Pytes Battery, once you start to hit 20 kilowatt hours and more, you're going to have a much more cost-effective system versus the Tesla Powerwall currently. The more storage you add onto the system, the more cost-effective it's going to get.
Makes sense, because you've got a certain amount of fixed cost in the inverter itself. So the inverter is going to do your DC to AC, your AC to DC, your solar charge control, your backup switching. But once you have that in place, then adding incrementally more storage is much more affordable, especially using like a server rack style battery like the Pytes V5 that we have here. We have 3 of the Pytes V5 batteries here for 15 kilowatt hours. But if we wanted to double this from, say, 15 kilowatt hours to 30 kilowatt hours, the incremental cost should be less than $7,000 or $8,000 is my understanding.
Exactly, yeah. I like to put the example, it's like buying a generator, but instead of buying another generator for more capacity, you're just adding more fuel for the customer.
So Mark, that's a great point you actually brought up about generators, because this is another component or another feature that a lot of folks in the off-grid community and in the emergency preparedness community They want that extra level of redundancy, being able to have a fuel generator to back up the solar and battery. So tell us, how does Sol-Ark interface with fuel burning generators? I know this is one of the features that Tesla has still kind of stubbornly refused to support. So how does Sol-Ark work with a fuel burning gen?
Yeah, we definitely shine brightly when connecting to generators. So we'll connect to any AC generator in the market. You can actually run the Sol-Ark inverter. Do you mind if I should?
Sure.
Do this at the same time. So you can actually connect a generator to a predetermined generator port to the Sol-Ark inverter.
Okay, so I see it's got the dedicated generator input here.
So you can have the generator go into the Sol-Ark inverter, and then off-grid, when the batteries get too low state of charge, you can actually have the generator come on automatically without the customer's intervention, because we actually have a 2-wire start connection within this pin sensor bar here.
Okay,
and
part of
that
the
gray bar.
terminal here?
Yes.
Okay.
And with that 2-wire start, once the battery hits a low pre-programmed state of charge, we'll turn on that generator. The generator will first provide power to the load, which is a priority off-grid, and then you can also pull power from the generator and bring it back to DC and charge the battery connected. So it's going to be a much more efficient system. It's going to be more reliable for customers that are actually living off-grid, but it's great to have that tertiary source of power to charge the battery too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, you know that this is one of the things I recommend if you're setting up for a true off-grid operation or for a prolonged, surviving a prolonged loss of the electric grid, you want to have that generator backup option. So let's say you hit a patch of bad weather, the solar panels can't keep up with recharging the battery. All you have to do is fire the generator for a few hours, bring the batteries back full, and then you can switch back to running off the solar and battery system. So it helps you stretch your fuel supply as well. You're not running off the generator 24/7. Maybe just 3 or 4 hours is enough to get a good charge on the batteries, and then you run for another day off the batteries. So,
yeah, definitely. I'd say it's very cost effective versus customers. You don't want to size for 48 or even more than 2 or 3 days for battery storage. You want to keep a nice efficient amount between, I would say, 12, 16 to maybe at most 24 hours of battery storage. And then adding a generator to the system is going to be really building the full system that's going to be reliable.
So Mark, another component that I talk about a lot as far as having a successful whole house backup is having some sort of intelligent load control. So let's say you are running in a grid down situation. You may not want to run everything in the house all at once, and there may be some loads that you want to control intelligently. So tell us, how does Sol-Ark support intelligent load control here on the unit?
Yeah, all of our residential products and commercial products are going to be able to do this. So the Gen port is not only a generator connection, it can be used for 2 different applications as well. You can first use it as a smart load output. That means you can tie it directly to a single load. Most customers will do this maybe with an air conditioning off-grid, and the load will become a load output based off of current PV production and current state of charge from the battery. Both programmable options to do the amount of PV production or the amount of state of charge you want available before it becomes a load output. So it helps save on that power. It can also be used as an AC coupled input. So not only a generator connection again, but you can actually tie another inverter into the Sol-Ark inverter, and we control the other inverter. This helps for retrofits that want to add battery storage but can't add it with the current product on the roof. So let's say there's another string level inverter on the roof, and they'd like to add battery storage with the Sol-Ark inverter. You can get the cost-effective battery storage with Pytes, and then AC couple into the Gen port and still have solar on and off grid, when usually that system would go off grid when the grid disconnects.
Great. Okay. Now, Mark, when we talk about off-grid resiliency, right, another thing that comes to mind is internet communications, right? I know a lot of the all-in-one systems, you have to use the smartphone app to be able to monitor and control the system. And one of the first things I notice about Sol-Ark is, you've got touchscreen control right here, right? And I know this is a concern for a lot of folks, especially a lot of preppers and folks out there, is, can I control the system locally without having to go through somebody's internet app, without having to even have an active internet connection? So can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so it really adds to the ease of installation with our product. So you have a full overview here, which shows solar production, grid, if you're selling or pushing power to the grid or pulling power from the grid. It shows your load and your battery state of charge. And then you can do all the programming from an LCD touchscreen, which makes it very quick and efficient for any installers installing our product out in the field. Very easy to change any settings as needed. Now, we do have the option to connect online. It is not required, but you can connect to Wi-Fi or Ethernet service and access all the monitoring platform online on our My Sol-Ark platform, or you can change settings online too for installers that helps save a rollout as well.
Okay, so it sounds like you kind of get the best of both worlds. If you want to internet connect it, you can app control it. If you want to kind of go isolate it, if you will, you can do that and just work with the touchscreen.
Completely, yes.
Okay. So Mark, another story that's been sort of going around within the industry recently is availability. Specifically availability of the Tesla Powerwall 3. I've been hearing reports from some installers, some distributors that new orders are 3 months out or more for being fulfilled. So in terms of a Sol-Ark system, what's the availability, what's the lead time?
Yeah, we always believe in having our product available. So we keep our facility well stocked. We sell through distributors across the United States. Any major solar distributor are going to have our product. And we keep our lead times to 3 to 5 days currently. So on response of an order, we'll be able to deliver out to site very quickly.
Great. So Mark, I know the setup that we're looking at here is with the Sol-Ark 12K inverter, but I understand it's actually the new Sol-Ark 15K that's the most popular right now for residential, particularly for residential applications for whole house backup. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us what's new, what's different with the new Sol-Ark 15K?
Yeah, the Sol-Ark 15K is definitely our best seller since it's been released to the market for a couple of good reasons. And first, it saves on parts, materials, and components on the full system of an install. So most of the time when you have a smaller inverter, you might need products like a sub panel to make a critical panel. With the Sol-Ark 15K, we have a feature where we can actually pass grid power into the load output of the Sol-Ark inverter up to 200 amps. That's what's going to be your standard 2,000 square foot home and the size of their main service panel. So you're going to be able to take away an automatic transfer switch, which is going to be very costly, not only to buy the product, but to install the labor involved. And then you can also take the cost of a sub panel out for the cost and the same labor involved from moving your main service panel loads to a sub panel. So you're going to save a lot of costs there on both the electrician's labor and the cost of the material.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I remember hybrid systems back in the day. You had separate solar charge controllers, you had separate inverter, and then you had a separate transfer switch as well. Now I know there's different names for them. Some of them call system controller, some of them call it gateway, but basically it's the means of disconnecting your home from the electric grid, but still being able to provide secure power to the loads within the house. Mm-hmm. So by doing all that switching internal to the inverter, like you said, it's less equipment, less labor, less materials required to finish out that installation.
Yeah, and it does it rather quickly as well. From the loss of a grid, it'll transfer over within 5 milliseconds, which is going to be within UPS grade speed. So the lights won't flicker, any smart electronics connected to any networks will stay connected as they transition from grid tied to off grid.
Great. All right, so I'm back here with Logan Bacher, product manager at Pytes, and of course we're looking at a combination solution with the Sol-Ark inverter and the Pytes 48 volt lithium iron phosphate battery system. So Logan, good to be back with you again.
Thank you.
So tell us about how does the Pytes battery, how does it interoperate with the Sol-Ark inverter system? How do they communicate? And I'm curious, what other inverters could your battery be used with?
Yeah, at the end of the day, our storage solutions, not just the V5, but the other products we offer are all inverter agnostic. So they can work with inverters like Sol-Ark, as well as others in the market, Victron, Schneider Electric, and there's many others on our compatibility list. What's special about the relationship with Pytes and Sol-Ark specifically is, I'd say kind of related to two main things, if you will. One of those is closed loop communications. So that's when we have the battery system actively communicating with the inverter system and essentially telling the inverter how to discharge the batteries, how to charge them, communicating other information like state of charge and temperature, et cetera. So what that gives you is a much higher level of efficiency and just really, really close compatibility between two products from different manufacturers. They work extremely well as a pair. That gets me to my next point, which comes into play on the theme of safety. So when we talk about pairing Pytes batteries with an inverter like Sol-Ark, for example, we do have the high compatibility, the closed loop communications, as I mentioned. We've actually taken that a step further with Sol-Ark specifically, and achieved UL 9540 certification. So UL 9540, Joe, is essentially North American, safety standard for ESS, energy storage systems. Now, to get UL 9540, each product individually has to go through its own rigorous, extensive safety testing with a nationally recognized testing laboratory. So our Pytes batteries have their own UL certifications that apply to just the batteries. Sol-Ark has their own certifications that apply to just the inverter. When we put the two pieces of equipment together and we get the UL 9540, that means now, in addition to the individual certifications, the combination or the pairing of these two independent components is now covered under that standard.
Great. Okay, so Logan, so what would the installer have to do then to set up the Sol-Ark to communicate with the Pytes battery bank?
Yeah, not too much, to be honest. I usually like to break it down in 3 to 4 steps. So we've got kind of our demo system with 3 Pytes V5 batteries, a Sol-Ark 12K. All the batteries are bused together with the flexible bus bars included with the batteries. We've got our battery-to-battery communications in place, battery to inverter communications in place. And then from there, it's really just enabling a few settings on the Sol-Ark built-in display, and that is how you establish the communications between the inverter and the battery system. So first step, you go to Settings, Battery Setup, use percentage charge, BMS lithium bat, the type is 00, you press OK. And then to confirm it's communicating, you go to LI bat info, and we can see all the battery information. 300 amp hours are getting reported, 100 amp hours per battery.
Now, I know another question that a number of folks out there are going to have is, what about service and support? So for installers, for end users out there, what kind of support's available for them?
Yeah, great question. So both Pytes and Sol-Ark, we have amazing US-based support teams. We are available essentially 7 days a week with a pretty wide range of operating hours. Both of our companies offer full service and after-sales support in both English and Spanish. We also have Pytes, has a very, very high level of knowledge and experience about Sol-Ark, and I would say vice versa for Sol-Ark. Many people at Sol-Ark know a lot about Pytes. So what is very beneficial to the end users and the customers out there, the installers that are in the field with questions, is they can call Sol-Ark and more often than not, get some questions about Pytes answered. They can also call Pytes and get assistance not just with their batteries, but also with the inverter as well. So both companies are very, very closely related. We do a lot of co-trainings and co-hosting webinars as well. So again, just really speaking towards the high degree of compatibility and usability between our two products.
That's great. And I know that's one of the things when I talk to Sol-Ark installers, one of the reasons that they're very loyal to the Sol-Ark platform is that they feel that they're receiving excellent service and support. And frankly, if we're being honest here, that's one of the criticisms I hear about Tesla a lot, is that it's just so hard to get somebody on the phone when you need that personal touch.
Exactly. Yeah, you call either one of us, you will be easily able to speak to a live human, and then email, WhatsApp, other means of communications as well. We try to be as responsive as we possibly can.
Great. So Logan, anything else that the audience should know about the Pytes V5 battery or how it communicates with inverters like Sol-Ark?
I think one of the big things to point out here again that Mark had mentioned is the decoupling, if you will, of the two aspects of the system. Your inverter is a separate component. The storage aspect is its own component. Now, what is really, really great about Pytes, and not just the V5, but basically our entire product line, is it's extremely scalable. So it's very, very easy to add more storage to an existing system. If, let's say, the needs of the homeowner increases, let's say they buy an electric vehicle and now they need some more energy storage, or maybe their original system was a little budget constrained and now they have more funds to get the additional storage that they wanted originally. But in terms of V5, max scalability, we can do almost 100 units in a single install, so it gets us just shy of about 500 kilowatt hours, which I know is far above the capabilities or the max scalability for the Powerwall 3 anyways.
Sure. Well, folks, this has been a discussion of Tesla Powerwall 3 versus the Sol-Ark and the Pytes battery combination. And really what we're talking about is two different philosophies, two different approaches to how we do solar. Do we do it on a proprietary all-in-one closed platform, or do we do it using modular interoperable components where you as an installer or as a system owner can pick best of breed components, put them together, and then expand the system with more flexibility in the future if needed. Well, Logan, I thank you for taking some more time to chat with our audience. Mark, thanks for coming out and chatting with us here. That pretty much does it for today's video, folks. As always, if you're getting good value from the videos that you watch on Solar Surge, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And also go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well if you haven't done so already. That way, as we have new videos like this coming out, it'll come up on your feed and your notifications so you can stay up to date with everything. Now, of course, if you're in the process of looking at different solar and battery storage options for your home, if you need to get in touch with a local contractor, if you need to get a price quote, or maybe you already have a price quote, you just need to get a comparison to make sure that you're getting the right equipment, make sure that you're getting the best deal. As always, you can feel free to reach out to us on the link below here, set up a call with a Solar Surge expert, or just use the free online quote tool so you can see how much solar and battery storage costs in your area. But that does it for today's presentation. I thank you all for spending some more time on the Solar Surge channel. And as always, I'm Joe Ordia here, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.